Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I am Paula Fontana, Vice President of Corporate Partner Development with the National Black MBA Association, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Uncover Your Roots, presented to you by the National Black MBA Association and African Ancestry. So, for those of you unfamiliar, our association's mission is to foster economic equity and career advancement for Black professionals and aspiring leaders. And we do so through transformative educational opportunities, robust professional networks, and actionable advocacy for wealth creation and inclusion. So it has been said that if you know from whence you've come, that there is no limit to where you can go. So today's session will reveal not only where we are from, but will provide you with the opportunity for you to do the same. So joining me for this great reveal are two powerhouses of our association, our chairwoman of the board, Leslie Coleman, and our president and CEO, H. Beecher Hicks III. It is now my pleasure to turn the session over to African Ancestry co-founder and CEO, Gina Paige. Gina, let's
Hello,
go.
hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to see the three of you again, and welcome to everyone else who has joined us. As you know, I'm Gina Page, and what I'm here to do today is to reveal the African roots of some of the National Black MBA Association. So, in addition to Leslie and Henry and Paula, there are seven others who took the test during the conference in DC. They took an African ancestry matriclan test. And so I will be revealing their results as well. So if you guys are ready, are y'all
Ready,
ready? Are you ready to find out where you're from?
ready. I got some theme music. I'm so ready.
I love it. I love it. Okay, let me pull my screen up here. We can get. Okay, so welcome officially to the African Ancestry Experience with the National Black MBA Association's Reveal. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the science of this, just a little bit because I know that the revealees have heard this, and I know that they're very anxious to get to the good part. So shout out to Kevin Wright. He's one of the people who will be revealed a little in a few minutes. But if you think about our family trees, I just want each of you to think about your own family for a second. How many people can name both of your parents? Just know their names. Most people can name both parents. So that means if we go back just one generation, there are two branches of our family tree, and we know a good chance that we know much about one or both of them. If we go back another generation, now there are going to be four people who make up our family tree, four lineages of our tree. And I like to ask, you can just think about it. How many of your grandparents can you name? Do you know the name of all four of them? Do you only know one or two? Just something to think about as you're exploring your family history. Now, let's just go back one more generation. Now there are going to be 8 people who make up who you are. You are the total, the combination of all 8 of these people. Do you know each of their names? I very rarely am I in a room where a person can, more than 3 people, let's say, can name each of their 8 great grandparents' names. Again, these are all people who have contributed to who you are as a person, either through DNA or through your looks, your height, your weight, things like that, or through your family's culture. You might have one of their personalities. We don't always know. But if we go back 10 generations now, there are over 1,000 people who make up who you are. There are over 1,000 lineages or branches of your family tree. And this is important context for when we do genetic ancestry tracing, which is using a person's DNA to explore their family history. I can't tell you where everybody in your entire family tree comes from. DNA just cannot get that specific. However, we can, like most genealogists do, go back one lineage at a time to explore, let's just say, your mother's mother. Oops, sorry about that. To explore your mother's 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 line, let's say. So we're not looking at all 1,000 people. We're just going to focus on one branch. Kind of like when you go to a family reunion, right? You're not there to celebrate every single lineage in your personal family tree, but you're generally celebrating everybody who comes from your grandparents, perhaps, or maybe your great-grandparents. So that's what we've done with African Ancestry and the National Black MBA Association. We distributed matriclan tests to the people who attended, I think it was a executive leadership training. What, you guys can help me on what that session was? It was a special track during the conference.
Yes, for our executives.
For executives, okay. So they each received a matriclan test from African Ancestry, and that test looks specifically at DNA that is inherited from the mother. It's called mitochondrial DNA, and all of us have the exact same mitochondrial DNA as our mother and her mother and her mother and her mother, going back 2,000 years or even more. That DNA doesn't change. So in effect, we all have the exact same maternally inherited DNA as our ancestor, as our maternal ancestor before the slave trade. And so that's what African Ancestry is here to do today, is to provide the answer. They swabbed their cheeks, they sent in their swabs, they activated their kits online. They've been waiting very patiently, some of them longer than others, for the answers, which will be available in their portals after this presentation. So you can't even sneak and look ahead to see what I'm going to tell you. And then all of the DNA was destroyed. And I know from that meeting, I know from other, talking with other people around the country and around the world, that DNA security is of the utmost importance. African Ancestry is the only company that does not sell or share our customers' DNA. And we're also the only company that gets down to this level of specificity. And so that's it for the background. I'm going to jump into the reveal and the way this is going to work is that I'm going to do the reveals by country. So there are some countries, some ethnic groups where more than one member shares the same ancestry. In those cases, you'll see what I mean. All right. So we're going to start with Gregory Williams. And Gregory Williams, like I said, is he took a matriclan test. We do have another test that traces paternal ancestry, but for the benefit of today, everyone took a matriclan test. So for Gregory, we found his ancestry in a very small country in West Africa, one of the smallest, called Guinea-Bissau. And Guinea-Bissau is one of the only Portuguese-speaking countries, one of, I think, 2 or 3 Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa today. They were colonized ultimately by the Portuguese. And there was a really strong resistance to the Portuguese colonization, as you can imagine. And so we like to talk about the group of people that Gregory shares ancestry with as those who resist. So now you guys know Gregory. Somebody, if I don't know if Gregory's on the call, somebody knows Gregory, and you can tell me whether being from the Balanta people, and Balanta means those who resist, fits Gregory's character or his personality or his professional style. I don't know. But the Balanta are known for being um, almost like the activists of the culture, and it was very hard to enslave them because they just they resisted at every single turn. Obviously, they were captured. Ultimately, some of them were captured and brought to the Americas, but we like to talk about the Balanta. Another important person in Guinea-Bissau history is Amilcar Cabral. He's one of the most famous, well-known African freedom fighters who was instrumental in Guinea-Bissau gaining freedom or emancipation from the Portuguese. These are some of Gregory's cousins, notable people in different industries that we have traced to Guinea-Bissau. We have Q-Tip from a tribe called Quest, Sheila E., the drummer, musician, and performer, and then, of course, Charlemagne the God. So congratulations, Gregory. Welcome to the African Ancestry family. And just a brief note that these results are not just for Gregory. These results apply. Thank you, Paula. These results apply to everyone who is a descendant along Gregory's maternal line. So this is a family project. Now Gregory has something to share with the family if he celebrates giving thanks next week or during the holiday season. This is something that the family can talk about and learn more about. So that's Gregory. Now I'm going to move on to, this is a group, I'm pretty sure. Carol Colbert White, Paula Fontana, J. Charity Ware, Kevin Wright, and his daughter, Daryl Wright, whose name is spelled with one R, not two. All right. So, Paula, since I can talk to you, I know Kevin's in the stream and perhaps some of the others. What made you decide to take the test?
It has always been my desire to find out where I was from. Sort of how I mentioned before, like, from where you come from, then you know where you're going. And so I had literally have goosebumps right now. Like, I cannot wait for you to tell me this. And whenever you reveal it, like, I just need people in the office to understand, like, I need flower petals. Every day I walk in, I need you to bow. Like, I need all the things.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So you guys get those flower petals ready for Queen Paula. She and the others descend from Sierra Leone.
Wow.
And I left Guinea-Bissau on the map so that you could see the relationship in distance between Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau. There's less than 500 miles between the two countries. So, as we move through these reveals, what you'll see is that sometimes these lineages, these results genetically are the same across groups or the same across countries because it's about genetics. The ethnic groups, the country lines were drawn arbitrarily and politically during the Berlin Conference. And then the ethnic groups are social and cultural, but not necessarily genetic. So Sierra Leone is a very popular country these days. You can see where it's located. People tend to know about Sierra Leone historically for its diamond trade. It got popularized in music, hip hop music in the 90s. But what we also know about Sierra Leone is that the people were expert rice farmers. And so during the business of enslavement, they were taken specifically for that skill. And they were taken specifically to the rice plantations in the Georgia Sea Islands, in Sierra Leone, because they were skilled labor. And so we see a lot of Sierra Leone traditions that are almost 100% intact in the Gullah Geechee people in South Carolina, for example. Now, there are three major ethnic groups in Sierra Leone. And the first group that we found results from is the Temini people. And what I love about the Temini people is their energy, their just their zest and excitement for the community and for people who visit the community. So I have to tell you that for the past 4 years, African ancestry family members have been traveling to Sierra Leone to meet their cousins and also to receive citizenship. And every time we go, we are welcomed by the Temini people. They are the largest ethnic group in Sierra Leone. And when I tell you they show up and show out every single time. It's incredible. Now, I need to make sure that I tell you the right people, because not all of you have Sierra Leone ancestry, and I just need to pull my notes up real quick. All right, thank you. Here we go. Okay, so the Temini person in the group is Carol Colbert White. So Carol, you are part of the largest ethnic group in Sierra Leone, the Temini. Now, Paula, Queen Paula, yes. Jay Charity, Kevin Wright, and by descent, his daughter, Daryl, you all are Mende. And the Mende are the very close cousins to the Temini. Like if you guys could think about your cousin who's like a sister or your cousin who's like a brother, that's how the Mende and the Temini are. The Mende are often known for this bundu mask, Bundu, which is worn ceremonially by the elder women in what they call Sandy societies. The elder woman is known as the Sowe, and the women in the Sandy societies are responsible for teaching and bringing up girls in the way that they should go. And my understanding is that they are the only women across the continent who wear masks ceremoniously. So Mende women hold a very special position in the community in that respect. Kevin, there is also a society for men, and it's called the Poro Society. The Poro men bring boys up in the way that they should go. And so you guys can explore those. And then the other good news about being from Sierra Leone, whether you be Mende or Temini, is that they are the first African country to offer citizenship based on African ancestry results. So you are all now eligible to become citizens of Sierra Leone. So congratulations.
Let's do it.
Yes. And now that you are part of the African ancestry community, you will get more information about that. Okay, going back, I'll answer your question in just a minute, Henry, after I share your Sierra Leonean cousins. So I love to share the ancestors whose roots we have traced to Sierra Leone, because ancestors are so important in our cultures. So Representative John Lewis, we traced to the Mende. Dr. Maya Angelou, we traced to the Temini people. And Chadwick Boseman, we traced to the Limba people, which are another Sierra Leonean ethnic group.
Oh, this is amazing.
Woo. Okay, I was getting a little choked up there. Every time I see this slide, it just reminds me of the power that we get from our ancestors, and we don't even know it. Luckily, the three of them were able to learn their roots before they, while they were still living and while they were still making a tremendous impact on our lives. And now each of you has the opportunity to do the same. So, all right, I'm gonna take a deep breath.
Right, and I love that I see myself in each of them like that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so our next honoree for today is Lachez Solage. And we traced her ancestry, her maternal roots, to the country of Ghana. And there is a question about what the blue is in the map. That's a lake. That's one of the largest lakes in East Africa that seems to make it on every map. So we reflect that lake. So Ghana, probably the hottest country right now. Everybody knows about the year of the return in 2019. If you don't know about that, then you need to Google it, because that was an initiative where Ghana celebrated the 400th anniversary of the first enslaved Africans that arrived in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. So they spent a year celebrating and commemorating our history, that aspect of our history. Traveled to Ghana, and its popularity just exploded. But Ghana was already well known to African Americans. It was already well known as the gateway to West Africa because of Kwame Nkrumah, and because of the long-standing relationships that he built and subsequent leadership built with leaders, Black leaders here in the United States. And so you'll see tributes to Kwame Nkrumah throughout the country. Ghana is known as the Black Star. And Ghana is also well known for the Akan people. Now, the Akan people gave us kente cloth. The Akan people gave us adinkra symbols. So if you've ever heard of the Sankofa symbol, or the idea of Sankofa, to go back and fetch it in order to be able to move forward, that comes out of the Akan tradition. And of course, the woven kente cloth that we all have worn on our degree, when we've gotten our degrees, right? And we've had our Black robes. We're all MBAs on this call, or most of us anyway. The kente cloth on the scarf. And so our roots, our connection as Black Americans goes back very, very deeply with Ghana and with the Akan people. And actually on the 19th, on Tuesday, Ghana offered citizenship, or conferred citizenship by presidential decree, to 524 Africans from the diaspora, from the United States and the Caribbean. So they're looking to continue to strengthen and deepen these ties economically, socially, and culturally. Whew, okay. The next reveal is Henry Hicks. So, Mr. Henry Hicks, our leader of this association, what made you decide to trace your ancestry?
Well, other than I've admired you and your work in the company at African Ancestry, I mean, that's probably the biggest piece of it is is just watching you and your enthusiasm and then, I actually am something of the archivist for our family and keep track of deaths and births and do the family tree and the whole thing. And I've only able to go back so far. I think I do know all 8 of the names of my great grandparents, but it really kind of gets fuzzy after that. So really very interested.
Do you have any ideas based on the research that you have done about or that you've done on your mother's line? Any ideas about what we will find?
No, nothing on my mother's side. There's been a long-standing sort of discussion on my father's side about there being some Spanish ancestry in the mix somewhere. But not on my mother's side. I'm pretty sure those folks are from Africa. It's just, I mean, I know that seems obvious, but in some ways, but very striking features when you kind of go back a couple of generations on my mother's side.
Okay, and it's not an unusual statement. Because when we trace maternal ancestry, 9 out of 10 people who take the test, Black people who take the test, get an African result. But when we trace the paternal line, father to father to father, 4 out of 10 Black men, because only men can take, men and those who were assigned intersex at birth, 4 out of 10 have a European paternal ancestor. And that's one of the reasons why we brought matriclan tests to the conference, because, when you think about how slavery worked and how colonization worked, it was the British, the German, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French men and others, Dutch, I don't want to leave anybody out, they were fathering brown babies very frequently. And so when we look at the paternal lines of those descendants through the males, it goes back to Europe. So I would not be surprised if we were to find Spanish ancestry for your paternal line, but we didn't trace that one. We traced your maternal line. And I was so excited when I got this result. You share ancestry with people living in Nigeria today.
Wow.
And, for all of the things that we hear about Nigerians, particularly in business, that aren't always favorable, Nigeria is that has the largest population of people in the entire continent of Africa. It has more people in this country than any other country, and it's not the largest by size, but many of the people that succeed in business are Nigerian entrepreneurs and businessmen. Some of the wealthiest men in the world and the wealthiest men in Africa are Nigerian. And so I wasn't surprised that you're to see Nigeria from what I know of you from a business prowess and expertise standpoint. But also, when you dig deeper into your ancestry and we look at the people that you share ancestry with are the Yoruba. And the Yoruba people are the Yoruba spiritual system, I will say, is very well known throughout the world. There are millions and millions of people living in Brazil, Yoruba. There are people living in Cuba, Puerto Rico, throughout the Caribbean, and also the United States, who practice this religion or subscribe to this spiritual system. And I know that part of your legacy, Henry, is a very deeply spiritual one. I don't know about your mother's side, but just in general. So I was not surprised to see this Yoruba result. What are you thinking?
Well, it's more emotional than I expected. But actually, on both sides of my family have deep spiritual roots and ministers going back multiple generations. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and one thing about Yoruba and the Yoruba spiritual system in particular, is that we, as enslaved people, we were not allowed to practice this. And so in countries like Brazil, it got shrouded by Catholicism so that they could continue to practice it. And so when you travel to South America, or you travel to some of the other Spanish-speaking countries, even though they speak Portuguese in Brazil, you'll see Christianity and indigenous religions combined. And that was their way of being able to preserve their beliefs within a system that didn't allow them to believe freely. I'll say it like that. So I also know that, Henry, in conversation, you've mentioned Nigeria as a place that you would be interested in visiting. So I got quite excited when we got this result, because now you will really go home when you go. And you are certainly welcome to travel with us in January when we go on our first African Ancestry family reunion there. You are my cousin. I share ancestry with the Yoruba on one of the lines of my father's side of the family. So welcome to the family, cuz. Okay. Here are some of our cousins. Carla Hall, Chef Carla Hall is Yoruba. The actor Jeffrey Wright, Judge Hatchett, and our ancestor Baba Dick Gregory all share ancestry from different Nigerian ethnic groups. Okay, who's next? Paula, we need some music. I'm feeling. Thank you. Leslie, you are up next with Shanery. I hope I said your name correctly. Ms. Doms or Dames. I'm messing it all up. And Lyric Hair. So, Leslie, what about you? What made you say yes to this opportunity?
Well, you know what? I am adopted. And so I was quite delighted when I was asked to participate in something like this, because it's been a black ocean for myself and my twin sister. So this is extremely interesting. And as you've been calling out the tribes and giving us information, I've been looking it up. So I could not wait to get my information and understand more about my history. So I'm just thrilled.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, each of you shares ancestry with people living in Cameroon today. And you see Cameroon here, it shares a 2,000-mile border with Nigeria just to its left. And so you and Henry are kissing cousins. I would say there's a lot of shared ancestry that is in both present day Cameroon and present day Nigeria. But within Cameroon, so Cameroon is known as Africa in miniature, because anything you find across the continent of Africa, from the mountains to the savannas, to the deserts, to the rainforest, to the beach, whatever it is, exists in this country of Cameroon. It's like a microcosm for the entire continent. It's got a tremendous amount of diversity of languages, diversity of ethnic groups and cultural traditions, as well as foods. And I have to say food because every Cameroonian I meet believes that they have the most delicious food out of any country in Africa. And it is very good, but I can't take sides. I have to be neutral. So within Cameroon, they have two capital cities. Douala is the economic capital of Cameroon. And this picture here is of Yaoundé, which is more of where the government sits, but also the cultural capital of Cameroon. So now each of you ladies shares ancestry with the Tikar people. And I just love the Tikar people because they are known as the artists and the artisans of the culture. They have had writing, printed writing, since before any European person thought about stepping foot on the continent. In fact, this pictured here is the Sultan of the Bamoun Kingdom. He recently accepted the throne about 2 or 3 years ago, when his father, who was the reigning sultan or king of the Bamoun Kingdom, passed away. He's very young guy. If he's 30, he might be 30 years old. His family has the largest collection of written manuscripts in Africa that goes back for centuries. So, all of our talents, Paula said she saw herself in each one of the Sierra Leonean ancestors that I showed earlier. All of us have these skills, where they come from. And so it's my hope that when you learn your present day African country of origin, when you learn which ethnic group or groups you share ancestry with, it will shed some light on you, family members, or even just traditions that are in your family. So the Tikar people are found largely in the Bamoun Kingdom and also in Bankim. So you all share ancestry with the Tikar. And then when we get to Ms. Dames and also Lyric, you all also share ancestry. Here's some Tikar cousins: Lamont Rucker, our now ancestor Quincy Jones, and then the uber talented Shirley Ralph. They all share Tikar ancestry with the three of you. But you guys also share ancestry with the Bubi people living off of the coast of Equatorial Guinea. And if you see where the star is, Bioko Island is an island. It's the largest of 5 islands off of the coast of Equatorial Guinea. It's where the capital city of Equatorial Guinea is found, but it's actually positioned more closely to Cameroon than it is to Equatorial Guinea. So there was a flow of people between Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. And so we see these shared lineages. So not only did we find matches with Ms. Dames and Lyric, but we found in Cameroon, we also found the same identical matches for them in Bioko Island. As I said, you can see the proximity there with the Bubi people living in Cameroon, Bubi people living in Bioko Island today. And the Bubi people are an interesting group. There's not a whole lot of information about them because they are an indigenous people to that island. And so it's interesting that we find the shared lineage among people living in Cameroon. That means that at some point there were Bubi people who migrated to Cameroon and then started sharing lineages, if you know what I mean. There is a documentary that you can view on YouTube. It was released in 2004 or 2005, so it's over 20 years old now, called Motherland: A Genetic Journey. And I bring that up because in that documentary, they tested a woman and we determined her Bubi roots, and then they took her to Bioko Island and they tested a whole slew of people in Bioko Island to see if they could find a direct match, and they did. So she was able to meet someone that she literally shares the exact same descendancy with. So that's a powerful piece and will allow you to learn a little bit more about the Booby people. And what's also incredible, because you are adopted, Leslie, well, actually, hold on, I'm skipping ahead. Let me finish the Booby people. I'm all excited and I want to tell everybody everything at the same time. Here are the cousins. So Anthony Anderson, Tasha Smith, and Pharaoh Sanders, one of our jazz greats, who is also now an ancestor. They all share ancestry with both the T-Car people, like the three of you, and then the Booby people in Bioko Island, like Lyric and Shanarie. So what I wanted to say to you, Leslie, is I'm really honored that you agreed to take the test, because it is enlightening and transformative and powerful for everyone, but especially for people who don't have any other information about their families. And so I thank you for trusting us to give you this information. How are you feeling?
Different. It's knowledge that I did not have, but I too am the archivist for my family, and I can't wait to share the great news with them. I can't wait to print my results. I reserved the right. I said I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna wait and hear all about it before I go into there, because I'm really nosy. But I can't wait to share this with my boys, my twin sister, her family. And we will hopefully be taking a trip to Cameroon and visit the all these folks in the next few years. So thank you so much for allowing me to participate.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And we also traveled to Cameroon. So there's a theme here. We travel to Sierra Leone. We travel to Cameroon. I will actually be going to Cameroon for our family reunion there on December 1st. We're traveling to Nigeria, and we hope to be traveling with the National Black MBA Association in the future. So this is I want to see where everybody in the association is from. I need for all of you all to know where you're from. And you can by going to AfricanAncestry.com. And we have a sale going on right now, a site-wide sale. So everything on the site except for travel is 10% off. And you can take advantage of this opportunity to find out where your family's roots are. And like I said, I mean, it provides such enlightenment, not just for you, but for the entire family. Kevin's daughter, Daryl, now knows part of her ancestry because her father has traced back to the Mende people of Sierra Leone. Leslie's twin sister now knows where she is from because Leslie took the test. It only takes one person to actually give the DNA, which, don't forget, we destroy, in order for your family and future generations to now know where they come from. So I am happy to take questions, comments, if there are any. I think the questions were being kind of tracked in the background, and I saw
don't see any.
You don't see any?
Not currently.
Okay. One of the questions people sometimes have is, how were we able to do this? How are we able to tell people with this level of specificity where they're from? And it's for a few reasons. One, we have the largest collection of African DNA, mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosome DNA of any company in the industry. And so many of you watching have taken an Ancestry.com test or have taken a 23andMe test. I saw someone in the comments that said they were some percentage Nigerian. They compared you to maybe 1,825 to 4,300 Africans. And based on that very small sample set, again, I know I'm talking mostly to MBA, so I know you guys had to take statistics, very small sample set, to then tell any African person of African descent, you're some percentage from here, there, and the other. That's not what we do, as you've seen. What we do is we take one branch of your tree and compare it to over 33,000 Africans from 35 countries and over 400 ethnic groups to be able to get very specific with our results. So that was one thing that I did mention that people sometimes ask. But if there are no questions, then my job is done, and I guess I turn it back over to the leadership team.
Thank you so much. Before I officially close out, I guess Henry, Leslie, any final words you want to give?
Well, I'll let Henry go, then or do you want to end it, Henry?
I was just going to say, wow, but
Okay.
there is a question for Gina that I just saw pop up, which is who in my family should take a DNA test to learn about the matrilineal lineage heritage on my mother and father's side of the family?
Okay, great. So you can take the DNA test, the matriclan test, to learn about your matrilineal line, mother to mother to mother. If you want to learn about your father's matrilineal line, then it has to be someone who descends from your grandmother. So it could be your grandmother if she's still with you. It could be any of her children. So your father, your aunt, your uncles, or any of your aunt's children. So your grandmother, your father, your aunts, your uncles, or your aunt's children can take a matriclan test. The results take approximately 6 weeks from when you send your swabs to us. So if you take a test now in the next couple of weeks, you'll have your results going into the new year. I can see, my MLK celebration, Black History. Your Black History Month will never be the same. I can.
Isn't that right?
Exactly.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. This has been amazing. I looked forward to this for weeks. I could not wait to get my hands on my information, and so that I could be a lot more excited about the country that I'm from. And I can't wait to research it. And I am certainly going to look into the dual citizenship. This is amazing. I mean, this is truly amazing. It's a gift to us, and it's a gift to the organization. I just want to say thank you. Thanks to all of us, all of you on the team as well.
Yes, so I feel like Henry has some information he wants to share about perhaps.
Well, I wish I had details, but we are going to go to Africa with African Ancestry, and so we are working now to determine the exact dates of when that will be. So I know the team has been having conversations and doing some polling to try to get a sense of what time of year would be the best to go. But I would encourage you to go ahead and get your DNA test done with African Ancestry, so that when we announce the date, you'll be ready to go. So we are looking at sometime in 2026. I am told, but we're working to firm up those dates right now. We're excited about it, and we look forward to continuing to building a partnership with African Ancestry. As you can tell, this has been very exciting for me and for all of us. I'm seeing all the comments in the chat. Everybody is really excited, and so we just need to keep doing more. So I'm really excited. And so thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be able to come home, in a sense, to the National Black MBA Association and to partner with you. So I really do appreciate that you've trusted us to engage in this partnership. And we were talking about dates, but we also got to figure out where to go, because there's so many we can go that we have to narrow it down, and that's not an easy process.
Exactly. Well, as an association, we empower visionaries, but you have empowered us with this incredible information. So thank you once again, Gina, Paige, as well as AfricanAncestry.com. And if you want the power in your hands, you definitely have to take this test, and then you will go with us to Sierra Leone, where I'm from, of course. So thank you all so much for joining us for this incredible reveal. Until next time, take care of yourselves as well as each other. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.